Welcome to Joe's Astrology. This is the birth chart for Drake, uh, pop singer, R&B singer, rapper, and Drake has Sun in Scorpio, conjunct Pluto, Leo rising, Moon in Cancer, and Leo rising. Uh, I just did a chart on I just did Donald Trump, so check that out if you want to see another Leo rising at 29 degrees. I didn't try to do this. I literally just did Donald Trump with a 29-degree Leo ascendant. And the ruler there in this chart is the sun, and the sun is down here in the third house, conjunct Pluto in Scorpio. And Drake has a grand trine between Venus, Jupiter, and Moon in water. And he has that nice Venus Jupiter trine that gives good fortune. And both of those planets are retrograde. And I do want to focus on something specific here with Drake that I noticed. And this could probably be broken down much better than I'm going to attempt to, because I'm not putting that much time into it. But I noticed he was having stomach issues, and I don't really pay attention to all this, but I noticed there was some controversy with other singers, dissing other people and things like that. And I want to talk a little bit about that because he has Venus retrograde here, and um, and he also has the Moon in Cancer squaring the nodes, and that is an indication that this person is on the fast track to the individuation process, and that he's still working that out. And just a little bit more obvious stuff, the stomach issues that he was having. He has Mars in the sixth, and Mars in the sixth in Aquarius, of the sign of trauma, and the sixth house of health or illness. Mars being a malefic, it's not the greatest placement to have Mars. It does not mean that you're going to be chronically sick, although that you could indicate certainly some health issues that would have to be dealt with. And I think I read that he took a year off to deal with his stomach issues. And the Moon here squaring the nodes, there's something going on with his emotions. Obviously, just think literal, like things of the stomach, of not being able to stomach certain things. You could think of Drake being heavily involved in uh, other people's, well, I should say a lot of people thinking about Drake, talking about Drake, and this can be this can weigh on a person where they could have stomach issues because it's just a lot for a person to handle. And with this Venus retrograde here in Scorpio, or really all this Scorpio, Pluto, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn as well here in the fourth. He has Mercury and Saturn in the fourth, and Uranus in the fourth. So I'm thinking, looking at this chart, I'm really thinking that um, he has he's dealing this stuff that's coming out. He's really dealing with everything that I mentioned about being a public figure, handling the controversy and the um, other people talking about him, and saying things about him, and him saying things about other people. We see there's a quintile between Mercury and that Mars, and Mars and Mercury together can have that uh, can be like trash talk. Like a person has Mars Mercury can be good at trash talking. I think Conor McGregor has it, so there could be like a lot of trash talk, talking about others. Good with the tongue, sharp with the tongue. But with a quintile, it's almost like you think of a quintile as being a talent, but in his case, it's a way to creatively transform his life. And the things that are going on now, I think he's gonna come to a point where, in order to creatively transform his life, he's gonna have to really think through a lot of the things that are going on with his emotions, his family, uh, and something could come to a head from a health standpoint if it's not dealt with. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Because we do see that the moon, with the moon in the 12th, the moon has to do with trauma. I'm sorry, the 11th house can have to do with trauma. Anything with the 11th, Uranus, aspects to Uranus, Aquarius, we can see that there's some trauma. So we see there's, with involving the moon, there could be some trauma. There could be something with the mother that happened with him. Not always, but weeks it could, there could be. I mean, it's also making a inconjunct to that Uranus there. Uranus is also making an aspect to that Venus. And speaking of speaking out and having trash talking, he does have a stacked third house, which we see is good for someone who raps or sings with famous, a lot of famous rappers like Dr. Dre and Snoop, and everyone in that whole group had a lot of Gemini, and Gemini being ruled by Mercury. The third house is Gemini, and he has Mercury in the fourth, and he also has Jupiter in the seventh in angular houses, which make them more powerful than normally. So definitely to emphasize Mercury there as well. But yeah, a lot of water and a lot of emphasis on dealing with these issues that I'm speaking of. And I'm not sure that the public is really aware of all of this. I'm not even sure if he's aware of it. But that's what I see when I look at this chart. Very sensitive person to all of this. You think of like water, Jupiter, and Pisces. Um, he may not come across like that. I mean, I do think the Grand Trine in water helps him with relating to other people. Often you see people like Jordan Peterson who has a Grand Trine in water. People just gravitate to him, and I'm not saying that his information isn't really good, but especially being on the internet, people emotionally relate to these people versus someone like me. I have Saturn in water, and I have North Node in Cancer, but a lot of like Earth and air, and I may not always be emotionally relatable to people on the surface, but someone like this would be. And even that Moon in Cancer, I did a video on Moon in Cancer that is pretty decent. I'll put that down in the description as well. But definitely as a person who internally is absorbing, might be absorbing the public opinion about himself, or things that go on in the public about him, and the trash talking might not be. I think of Nas when I was younger, like the Nas and Jay-Z stuff going on, stuff like that. I don't think it would bother someone like Nas as much as it would bother someone like Drake. Nas, if you're not familiar with Nas's chart, being a Sun in Virgo and having a lot of Mercury, but not like I talk about Mercury in the fourth being emphasized, but see Mercury in Scorpio, it's not, and it's in the Cancer decan. So we don't see it in an air sign or an air house or an Earth or like a Virgo sign, the Virgo sign or the Virgo house. You even see a malefic in the sign where Mercury is exalted, and where Mercury, the house Mercury would be ruler of. And with the Scorpio, the last thing I'm going to mention, there's a lot with a lot of Scorpio, and the North Node being here close to the eighth house, ruled by Mars, the South Node in Libra, ruled by that Venus that I talked about that was retrograde. So he's coming from a place with the South Node in the second and Pluto in Scorpio emphasized there, being conjunct to that Sun and also squaring the Mars. There is an emphasis on relationships as well, with coming from where he's coming from. And we see the North Node where he's headed in Aries is ruled by Mars. And you could say he's moving towards a place of getting into fights and arguments. And um, I mean, on a positive level, it could be someone who's very ambitious. We do see that Pluto Mars square, almost exact square. A trine would be probably be better, but having that aspect gives him a lot of ambition. So something he's trying to accomplish. But it's also, you could see, he's trying. You could just say he's trying to get money. With all that Scorpio and the North Node being in the eighth, he's trying to expand his career, and even his MC is in Taurus, ruled by that Venus. So this is all could be stemming from him trying to make more money, and really, I'm not sure he can handle. The question is, can he handle it? Because that ruler, the ruler of that North Node, if he was doing all this to make money, it's ruled by that Mars in the sixth, and that's facilitating that North Node. And being in the sixth in Aquarius, he could be interested in technology and again, being ambitious or paying attention to detail. Work could, work. The sixth house is the work house. Maybe he's energized to work hard, but it could be causing some trauma. Aquarius, Mars in Aquarius. And this is what I think is the main points in his chart that are very interesting that he could be dealing with, and that maybe in the future he will take more time and rest and get out of the game that he's in. So interesting to see what will happen, and I hope you enjoyed this reading, and please subscribe to the channel. As always, I will have links down in the description with some of the things I talked about, and I hope you have a great day.